So this is probably the most incredible story of turning lemons truly into lemonade. And I want to preface that because I don't want you guys to feel bad for me, but I created my own financial automotive disaster.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
I think we did a video about this maybe last year at some point. My dream car had always been a CLK430 or CLK55 AMG growing up. I was 16 years old, 17 years old, and I remember seeing an incredible CLK Lorenzer. As you guys know, I actually worked at my dad's shop, which was down the street from RennTech, and I saw all these incredible CLKs driving up and down the street, and I fell in love with CLKs. And last year, I found the most incredible CLK. I think it was a one-owner car, silver with black, 55, 2002. That was in immaculate condition. And I ended up buying the car for right around $16,000. So I drove it as my daily driver. And I was so proud to drive the car because I felt like, one, it was an incredible value, and it really was a dream come true. And I know it sounds funny because you might think I'm jaded and I'm around all these crazy cars, but the CLK55 is today still one of my dream cars. So fast forward, a client comes in about 5 months ago, and he tells me, hey, I know you love these CLK55s. I found an incredible car, but it needs a little work. It's 25,000 miles. It's a 2001 black. Now, if you don't know me very well, that is my dream car, a black car. I might have said it on the video. Silver looks cool, but a black CLK55 was my dream car. I basically just told him, I want it, I'll take it. I didn't see the car. I didn't even try to negotiate. So for $16,000, I bought a 25,000 mile black 2001 CLK55 coupe. Now, when the car first arrived, I was still pretty excited. The paint looked decent, and I opened up the door. There was a few little ants on and things like that. The car had the wrong wheels, and the interior was not completely perfect. So I immediately told him, yeah, let's do the deal. I basically signed some paperwork and sent him a wire, and I was super excited to buy the CLK55 in my dream spec black. Fast forward, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with now 2 CLK55s, and my business partner Jordy, who had recently purchased a roof 996 turbo upon my advice, told me that he could be interested in the car. And I started expressing to him sort of my love for these cars. The suspension is not like the ABC crazy hydraulic suspension. That doesn't break. Those 5.5 liter engines are completely indestructible, and the cars don't have that many computers or anything like the CLs, and we'll talk about a CL story later, or the SLs or the S classes from 2003 or 2005. So I really love them, and I think all around it's a lot of car for the money. And in 2001, it was the fastest production car that Mercedes had ever produced. So sort of historical, cool car. And Jordy agreed for $16,000 to buy my silver CLK55 and make that his daily driver. Now, he immediately fell in love with the car. He got super excited. He loved his car. And I was about to embark on a project. So I made a list of things I wanted to do to the CLK. I wanted to put the original wheels back on. I wanted to actually send it to RennTech, do a service, do a bunch of small things. But I also wanted to put an incredible sound system. I wanted to do everything that the 16-year-old boy that couldn't afford this car was now going to do. So Keith Collins floor mats, change the wood, maybe put, different color wood, and just really nerd out on this $16,000 car. But at the same time, you have to be cautious whenever you start a project like this, but I let my passion take over. So floor mats were $1,000. I was starting looking at wheels. We're talking $1,000, $2,000. Paint correction was like $1,700. Then I noticed the side marker lights were wrong. Then I noticed that the headliner was sagging. Then I noticed that the seats were bothering me because at some point they'd actually gotten wet, which we'll talk about later. So I said, okay, I'm gonna do parts of the seats, I'm gonna do parts of the leather. So I sent the seats and the interior out to Kenneth Michaels, who does all our interior work on $1 million cars. And he was gonna do his work on my CLK. So next thing I did, I started to strip down the car, and I immediately shipped the car to RennTech. And I was pretty surprised when I saw the invoice from RennTech, because immediately realized that basically the rear main seal was leaking, the valve cover gaskets were leaking. I talked about doing an exhaust upgrade. Then basically the transmission pan was dented. They had to replace the pan, replace the gaskets, replace the fluid. The air filters were obviously hadn't been done in years. The right rear axle had a small grease leak. Sunroof jammed when you attempted to open it or close it. They had to replace a bunch of parts there. The rear sunshade was inoperative, but that's not a big deal at all. The headlight switch was damaged, and we can go on and on and on. So the estimate started at $5,972. So if you start adding up everything, I'm now into this CLK for probably $21,000, $22,000. Sound system, wheels, the interior pieces. I wasn't even sure the cost of the interior pieces yet. And I'm already at like $22,000, $23,000, which I actually said, okay, this is not the end of the world. I'm doing pretty good. I'm still okay. Now, fast forward, and I start to get the bill from Kenneth, and he starts to send me other interior samples that I could potentially use, some Alcantara pieces that would have Mercedes used. So $5,000 later, I was now at this complete interior redo on the car, and I was super, super excited. But I started to realize that I was starting to hemorrhage money to turn this into my dream car, and I realized that it was just didn't make sense. Even though it was a 25,000 mile car, I really didn't know what to do. The wood was out of it. I had to replace the wood, and all these different things that were sort of culminating into this, what now was a financial disaster, were in front of us. So I was putting a lot of money into this car. So this started to become a back burner project, and occasionally when it would come back from RennTech or it would come back from Pete, who does all our paint correction and things like that, I would actually drive it. There was a day I was driving it with no door panels, missing a bunch of parts. I think the front bumper was off, and people are like, what are you doing? Anyone that saw me was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, no, this is my project car. This is a dream car. So I realized that I had basically created my own disaster that was just turning into this $30,000, $35,000 project. And then I got the call of a lifetime. My dream would have been a CLK60 RennTech. The RennTech cars were just so cool. They came with these cool body kits, wheels, incredible suspension, brakes, race seats, race harness, full carbon interior, and all these different features. And that was really always my dream. But it's really hard to find a CLK60 RennTech car. There was probably 4 or 5 cars ever built. And luckily, Steven from our team got a call from a mutual friend of ours, Jonathan Hodgman, who mentioned that he had one of the original CLK60 that had been involved in an accident. Now, this car was hit pretty hard in the front, but pretty much everything was left intact. And it started off with Steven just realizing that I needed some wood pieces for the car, and he said, hey, do you want to buy a complete carbon fiber trim kit? And I said, of course, I would love to. And then he started sending me pictures of this car, and I realized, okay, we have to buy this whole entire car, and we have to do, basically, save this car and turn it into my car. So what we are essentially doing, and we're going to start with this project in the next couple weeks, and we're going to share it with all of you, is this was one of the original, and I think the only, RennTech CLK60 GT that was built with a 6-speed manual transmission, where Hartmut from RennTech actually got Mercedes to help him develop some of the parts, which is pretty cool. We'll get into that story. But an original 6-liter engine. So we're going to take my CLK55 project, we're going to take the CLK60 RennTech, and we're going to take all of the really good parts, which is engine, carbon fiber airbox, carbon fiber interior, the full racing seats, racing harnesses, the gauge cluster, all of these unique RennTech parts, exhaust, brakes, suspension, wheels, everything, I think even the rear bumper, and we're going to put it on the CLK55 and create the ultimate CLK project. This is a 16-year-old John Tamarian in that period. Wet dream imaginable. So we're excited to share it with all of you. I probably won't use it as a daily driver anymore, but it will be the most incredible experience and cool project, and we might even tweak a few things with RennTech. So stay tuned, guys. We have a ton more content coming. As you guys know, I'm a huge RennTech fan, and this is just so cool. And I believe, and Albert's gonna look for this, this CLK60 was originally a magazine cover car. So very cool. I feel like we're saving history in a way. We're also saving my project, but we're saving history and saving my project to create something very cool. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to like.